Hello, I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and welcome to Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. Today, we talk about therapy and the future of healthy families. It's a challenge for parents to stay engaged with their children on important issues like mental health and substance use, and there are hurdles to overcome, like, am I a bad parent if I ask for help? Caring professionals can help build strong family connections. Our guests from City Reach Family Therapy, David Captain and Kirsten Bowser, are going to help answer some questions for parents. Welcome to the show. David, tell us a little bit about City Reach and why you're here today.
Yeah, City Reach Family Therapy is a new clinic that we opened in Des Moines, and we just got our operations going in earnest in December of 2023. So we had a vision to provide another option for mental health care and family therapy in the Des Moines area, and to be able to expand access to populations that don't have enough access to counseling. We're a Christian counseling group as well, and so we thought that was important to make that available. We are providers for Medicaid, and we're working on Medicare as well, and the kind of normal commercial insurances that are out there and private pay. So we wanted to just provide another option for much needed counseling support and family therapy support, because it's so difficult to get in usually for people who are just trying to break into getting some counseling.
And you've been doing this for quite a while now. You're pretty experienced.
Yeah, I've been in the mental health field in some capacity for 32 years.
Sorry, I didn't mean to expose your age there.
No, that's okay.
And then we have Kirsten here, who also reflects a younger element of the business. And tell us why you're here, Kirsten.
Thank you. Yes, so I joined City Reach in December of last year. I am a newer clinician. I got my license in September of last year, and I am beyond blessed to be here under the supervision of David Captain. I'm just learning from his expertise and being a part of the ground up here at City Reach. It's been amazing just seeing what we've been able to do and provide as far as mental health services to the Des Moines area. It's just been such a pleasure, and it's been amazing.
You know, mental health issues have really, they may not have reached the highest level of awareness, but they are at a higher level of awareness for everybody than ever I remember in my lifetime. And that this is a challenge because there's, let's face it, if there is a challenge that parents and children face where there is more self sort of diagnosis and self-treatment, isn't mental health maybe the major one that just doesn't get enough connections and care that it should? David, what do you think?
Yeah, I do think that's true. There's so much information out there on medical problems, right? You can Google almost anything and get a million results. I think there is more and more info that people can run into on the web, for example, even for mental health issues. But you also have to have somebody who knows a little more about it or has had some experience or some training so that you're getting accurate and good quality information and advice on how to deal with mental health or family problems. So that's kind of where places like ours come in, where we could give a live person to provide that guidance and expertise.
Now, therapy and counseling has usually been looked at, well, typically, let's say, as it's a reactive issue. Something goes wrong, and then you look for a counselor or a therapist. But there's been more dialogue about proactive therapy and counseling when parents just feel uncomfortable, but maybe don't have a definitive problem. Do you see a growing interest in that with your patients?
Oh, definitely. We do see a lot of reactive, issues. People are having some trouble and they're realizing, okay, we need a little bit of extra support and coming in for that. But we do see people who are proactively realizing, okay, I need some extra support, and they look for mental health services. And that's the best, when you can be proactive about your mental health and be aware of your need for that extra support, that extra expertise, and getting to those issues before they even become an issue is ideal.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think too, what we see more of is people, once maybe they have come to therapy because of a reactive issue, there something came up, and so they went and got help for it. But we see people staying in therapy longer, and for not necessarily coming in and then just being done, keeping it maybe more open-ended, and checking back in with the office maybe once a month or something like that for a period of time, which is also, it's a kind of a maintenance and proactive approach, I think, to good mental health care and aftercare after like an acute episode or incident of some kind.
We're going to take a short break. I'm excited to get back to this topic and continue our conversation with David and Kirsten. See you all after the break. You don't want to miss this.
Malware and bots and worms, oh my. The wild, wild web can be a scary and complex place. And as our digital world expands, so too are the threats. Watch out! Trojan horse. That's why at MediaCom, we take security very seriously and monitor our networks around the clock to stop threats before they can affect you. Not today, rude kid. Not all internet is created equal. We build ours to keep you connected and protected.
Watching MC22 is now easier than ever before. All MediaCom customers can watch local programming online anytime. Go to mc22.net, click Watch MC22, and log in with your MediaCom account. Not a MediaCom cable subscriber? MediaCom internet or phone subscribers can watch too. Your local programming leader, MC22, online at mc22.net/watch.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. I'm your host, Peter Komendowski, and we're talking with David and Kirsten about why therapy is a support system a family can benefit from, especially at a time when the risks children face have reached into so many people's lives. Kirsten, what are some of the risks that we're seeing that parents and their children are facing? Give us an idea of the scope of these things.
Yeah, so one of the biggest issues that we see among kids and teens is a social aspect, difficulty with communication, with social media and just the internet and everything that our kids and teens are being presented with. It really does have this greater impact on our kids on knowing how to interact socially with their peers and as well with their parents. So we're just seeing a lot of issues that arise in those areas.
Yeah, one thing we know as humans, we actually nurture our children, or have historically nurtured our children for a large percentage of their lives, 18, 19, 21, more than any other creature on the face of the earth, which is a testament to maybe how big of an impact humans have on the world. But are we seeing some of these factors that you're mentioning sort of cutting into that time and breaking down some of those bonds that parents used to build that are now being done on social media and other places? Anyone want to address that?
Yeah. So on the parents' side, parents have a tendency to engage more with their phones and with work, and not spending that quality time with their children and building up those relationships to teach them the appropriate ways to interact.
Let's do a quick example, David. A question for you. A parent brings in a child that maybe has had some trouble in school. They come to you to get some help. And at some point, is there an approach that says maybe the parents need to be part of this therapeutic process too? That they may not realize the effect they're having on children?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we, especially in our clinic, we really want to, and many other clinics do as well, but we really want to approach a child or adolescent problem by involving the parents and making sure that they are engaged with their child's therapy as well. And so we can we can kind of find out through good questions and diagnosing a little bit more about what's happening, not just with their child and their behaviors or their mental health symptoms, but how are they interacting as a family? Do they have regular family time? Are they doing things habitually like what Kirsten was describing, where everybody's kind of sort of on their device or playing video games or those kinds of things? And without knowing it, I mean, it can happen very quickly where a family can begin to sort of drift from those face-to-face interactions with each other, and it becomes a lot more we're all in the same house, but we're kind of separated by our electronics, and you do see that pretty frequently. And I know Kirsten and I have been talking about this, about like some of the clients that we see here in the clinic, that it is a barrier to just normal face-to-face direct communication, where a lot of parenting stuff needs to happen.
We hear from our outreach with adolescents from high school down to fifth graders that when asked about the problems that they face in reality, everything from bullying and body image stuff to drugs, alcohol, and tobacco, which they're exposed to at an extremely young age, that they have a hard time determining how to talk to their parents. And so they often go to places like social media. I mean, even the peers don't know because their age group is exploring and learning new things, which, it's sort of like putting our kids into the test tube as the lab rats for all these social issues, and then the parents jumping in when something's going wrong. Now, I'm not making judgment on parents or parenting because it's tough. There is so much going on. But in some way, does counseling work with helping parents get back that territory, that real estate of that relationship with their children so they can move forward together and face these challenges? What do you see as the most redeeming quality of that when you're involved in a therapy situation?
Yeah, well, a therapy session is a face-to-face interaction. What counselors like Kirsten do with families is they will, meet with the child or adolescent, both with their parents, parent and or parents, and with the adolescent individually. And you can get a kind of a good sense of, okay, well, what's being missed here? And you can get clues and thoughts on, well, what are some topics or issues we want to encourage them to connect on and to talk about, and then sometimes right there in the counseling office begin to talk directly about those things. Kirsten, what else would you add about that?
Yeah, I think for kids and teens, when parents go out of their way to make a therapy session, it just communicates to that kid, I'm important. You're taking time out of a busy schedule to work on our relationship. And that alone speaks volumes and is healing in and of itself. And then when you are working together in that therapy room, in that office, just practicing those skills of active listening. Parents have a tendency to more, talk to their kids, but talking with and practicing those skills, that's so vital for our families.
So interesting. And I want to get back to that after we take a short break and continue our conversation about the value of a therapeutic support system to help keep families focused on a safe future. See you all after the break.
Dad, I'm not glitching.
I told you with our new Extreme Internet, it will be smooth streaming.
That's unbelievable.
Well, you better believe it, Missy.
I already finished streaming the whole second season of my show.
So start the third.
What the fast? That's really not frustrating.
I'll take that as a compliment.
You should.
I'm gonna get some ice cream. Do you want some?
With the drama-free reliability of Extreme Internet, you'll have to create your own. Get super fast internet with whole home Wi-Fi for as low as $24.99 a month for a year.
You told me not to talk to strangers. You told me not to cross the street without looking both ways.
You told me not to touch the stove. You told me not to do drugs. You told me not to drink and drive.
You gave me so many messages about how to stay safe. Why didn't you keep me safe by properly storing your gun?
The fact is, we use the internet for almost everything we do. Smart Cage, Feed Beaker. So when the internet doesn't work the way it should, you don't work the way you should.
Kevin!
That's why more homes and businesses rely on Mediacom. Our fiber-powered network delivers 99.99% reliability. And with 650,000 miles of fiber, we have more paths of connection and more ways to avoid outages. Not all internet is created equal. We build ours for you to rely on.
Welcome back to Surviving Bad. We're learning about how therapy fits into a family's needs to raise healthy children in a safe environment. And we're going to talk about when you should reach out for therapy, not necessarily after something's gone wrong, but what are the signs you look for before something goes wrong? David, what can you help us understand about that process?
Yeah, I think sometimes families will run into situations where they're starting to see things that are concerning. Maybe there's behaviors that are appearing that weren't there before, dishonesty, maybe isolating in their bedrooms, not wanting to talk the way that they used to. Maybe moods are worse and difficult to kind of understand or handle. Maybe there's been some pushing of boundaries, like coming home on time or not, and maybe even suspicion that their child might be experimenting with drugs or alcohol. And when those things come up, it's definitely time to start a conversation, and parents can certainly do that and should. We want them to try to do that just at home and say, look, we're seeing these things, A, B, and C. They are really concerning. Tell us what's going on with you. And sometimes that's all a child needs. They need to know their parent cares enough that they're going to be kind of confronted with those things and start a dialogue about what's going to be okay and what's not going to be okay, and how can we help you, as parents or a parent to, avoid the pitfalls of whatever things are starting to come up. Now, if a child is unwilling to kind of engage with that and just is, resistant to it, and which often happens, then it's a good time to say, well, I think we need to go get some help from somebody who knows how to encourage us to talk properly with each other, because you mean too much to me to let this get any worse.
We have a lot of parents that have fallen back on this. Well, it's a rite of passage. All children go through this. Mm-hmm. But one thing we've seen as professionals in these areas is that this is not the same rite of passage that people experienced 20, 30, 40, or 50 years ago, that some of these rites of passages are really highly deadly. We have the highest suicide rate amongst children. We have the highest overdose rate. We have more bullying than's ever existed. It's not like you're bullying in 1950, 60, or 70. It's a whole new breed of highly invasive bullying that permeates our lives because of social media and how quickly that can spread through a community. Are parents getting it, or is it time to really work on improving their perception of these risks becoming much more acute than they were when they were growing up?
Mm-hmm.
No, I think it's really important for parents to, even if their kid's not presenting with behavioral issues or talking about the bullying or the suicide, self-harm behaviors, they could be there. And then just another thing for parents to be aware of, because you talked about the proactive therapy, is during those transitional times, especially like from elementary school into junior high, they're going through puberty, they're changing friends groups, they're figuring out who they are and what they're interested in. And then again, that shift from high school into college, I'm an adult now, who am I? Those are really, really difficult times. And so if you're going to be proactive, I would say as a parent, being super in tune to your kids during those moments, just really keeping an eye, like David said, making sure they're not withdrawing, that they're not socially isolating themselves. If they're interested in an activity and all of a sudden they're not doing it anymore, those are some really big signs as a parent to take a step back and say, okay, do I need to get my kid in to talk about this and figure out what's going on. Even if you're not sure there's something going on, it doesn't hurt, because you can build that relationship and that foundation and that rapport with a therapist so that when those problems do come, that foundation is there and they feel comfortable to start talking about those issues.
Yeah.
Now, David, without mentioning anybody specifically, have you seen these sort of transmutations throughout the therapeutic experience and seeing the parents and family? I mean, what are the success stories like?
The success stories are are great. I mean, anytime that a family engages in communicating and that they are, willing to make an effort at it and to talk through things, that is always good. It's always going to be better than not, right? So if there was no effort there, then there's really an absence of a sense for the child, and an absence of a sense of care on the part of their responsible adults and parents that are in their lives. So even just getting the conversation started, like Kirsten was mentioning, that is helpful in and of itself. I know a lot of stories of where kids and parents have been able to connect for the first time, on a relational or an emotional level, and it really does help them kind of pull back from the brink in regard to getting into real negative behaviors like substance abuse, for example, or coping with divorce and blended family issues. Now we're finally talking about these things, and it really does help stabilize families because they are starting to talk and to admit that, hey, we need some help and we need to kind of talk with each other and try to understand each other.
Now, with the short amount of time we have left in this segment, I want to ask you a sort of a loaded question. Kids suffer from a lot more anxiety today. I mean, not just because of the media, but it's a higher level of stress and anxiety. And it's very awkward for kids to talk to parents. At the end of counseling with children, with teens and adolescents, do you find that they're relieved and some anxiety has gone away if you can establish stronger connections with the parents through this process?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you think, Kirsten?
Oh, definitely. And, parents, they would be surprised how close of a connection their kids feel. There's barriers there that's stopping that communication from happening. A question I like to ask my kids when I first meet them is, rate your parents, your relationship on a scale of, 1 to 10. 10 is you're really close. And when the parents are in the room, it's even better because a lot of times kids will say, well, it's a 9. And parents, their faces are just like, really? And so that connection is there. It's just those skills and the tools that they need to be able to communicate and connect. Those are needed to be worked on.
That's really important. Thank you. Listen, we're going to take a short break and we're going to ask David and Kirsten to share some final comments, insights, and inspiration. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Growing antsy for your favorite sports to return? Lack of quality programming got you down? Well, worry no longer, because Inside Sports is here to satisfy your cravings for the savings, your need for speed, your desire for the umpire. You get the message, right? Tune in to Inside Sports to get a deeper look at athletes on and off the mat, the track, and even the Wi-Fi? Yup, if there's action, you can bet we've got you covered on Inside Sports, only on MC22. Stream online on MC22.net and on our channel Monday and Fridays.
Welcome back. Today on Surviving Bad, we explored the value of therapy as part of raising a family, especially when faced with mental health or substance use issues. Now let's see what final insights and inspiration David and Kirsten have to share. David, it's all yours.
Yep. One thing I've been talking about for years is a quality of parenting called parental demandingness. And this is one that's been borne out in research that really speaks to parents doing structured things to make sure that there is more interaction and communication in the family. So, for example, in our family, we're going to decide to have dinner together 3 nights a week. And we're also going to have some sort of connection time, even if it's 5 minutes at the end of each day, and do it as a check-in time with each of your children. How's things going? Is there anything I need to know? How can I help you today? All of those efforts are proven to help protect kids from early initiation of substance abuse and early sexual activity and a whole host of other behaviors that could be harmful to their mental health. So I think that's a great thing that parents can do.
So parents taking back some of that real estate in their child's lives has proven to reduce the incidence of these problems.
Yep. Yeah, there's great research that supports that.
Fantastic. And Kirsten?
Yeah, if I could leave our viewers with one thing today, I would say to our parents, let's model the behaviors that we want our children to be seeing through self-care. If, our kids are watching us, whether they're aware of it or not, and how we present ourselves is going to teach them a lot of how they're going to respond in their own behavior. So, caring for yourself, showing those good habits of exercising, eating healthy, those good coping skills to help yourself reduce anxiety. So our kids learn those coping skills and use them. That's going to keep them away from turning to ineffective coping skills like substance use or self-harm. And then, as parents, showing and practicing emotion regulation when we realize we're upset, teaching our kids how to take a break, step back, and just modeling that behavior is powerful for our children.
David, you're a highly trained professional and you have children. And just maybe to let other parents watching this know that it's not necessarily easy, is it still tough for you to deal with some of these methods and ideas with your own children?
Well, yes, I do have children. They are all grown adults now, and they are they are 29, 27, and 25. But what I would say to that is that parenting doesn't really end just because your child turns 18. It just changes, and that's also a quality, I think, of parental demandingness and care is that, I love you, so I'm going to weigh in on things that I'm not really sure are going to be the best for you. There's a difference when they get past a certain age. You don't really have the control anymore, and that's okay. But it doesn't mean that you can't weigh in on those things and talk about them, because it does come from an aspect of love and care. And I think our children know that when they see that consistently.
And we do sort of know that we reap what we sow. So if you plant good seeds with your children, they'll plant the same ones in your grandchildren, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for, right?
Well, thank you so much for everything you do and your work with families, and it's enlightening because it's a whole new generation of how to deal with the issues in family therapy and the risks that our children face in our communities. Thank you so much for watching today. Check out our website at healthyiowa.org and keep your eye on MediaCom MC22 for our next episode of Surviving Bad, where we explore stories of survival, hope, and inspiration. I'm MediaCom MC22, your local programming leader.